I recently doubled the headcount of employees in my team, and in this video, I'm going to tell you about some of the lessons that I've learned and mistakes that I've made so you can avoid it. Let's dive right into it. First thing I want to touch on is the importance of having a big enough pool to actually choose talent from. I've historically always been the type to get excited about someone. I put out a job advertisement, have a few people apply, I have one interview, and then after the interview, I'm like, all right, this is the person. Now, if you have went through this experience, if that's how you've hired your people in the past, maybe they came as a referral, maybe that was someone's friend or someone's relative, or you just put up a post and the first person that inquired you end up hiring, you probably have went through a similar experience. Now, is it possible to hire good talent that way? Yes, it is. You may have gotten lucky and hired someone really, really good, but chances are, if you don't have a big enough pool to choose from, then you don't actually know what an A grade talent level is. And you're going to be making decisions to hire people from a place of scarcity. I can't count the amount of times that I've had an interview with someone and went, wow, this person is awesome. I really want to bring them on. But because I've got 5 other interviews to get through, I'll end up interviewing one out of the 5 people and go, holy shit, like this person's on another level. They blow that other person out of the water. This is now the standard. And then throughout the week, I'll then find one more person who then makes this person look completely unqualified. And so the lesson that I've learned in growing my team, particularly my sales team, my SDR team, who I call renovation consultants, but they're essentially over the phone sales reps who call leads, qualify them, build relationships, book appointments, and then also follow up our customers after they attend the in-home appointment to try and negotiate and get that deal over the line between the customer and our clients. So it's a bit of a call center mixed with a sales floor, mixed with a brokerage arm. It's a thing, but it's a thing that our customers really, really like, our clients really like, because we take the entire sales process off their hands. And I love it because I can control a lot of the sales process internally, and I'm not relying on, clients that, watch a couple hours of training to execute our sales process. We can actually have full control. So anyways, what I've realized is that if you don't have a big enough pool to choose from, you're not actually going to be able to make the right hiring decisions. And so you need to look at acquiring talent the same way that you would look at acquiring clients. You need to have a traffic source, so a place in which you get your talent from. And you need to have this traffic source be done in a way where you can turn the tap on, off, up, or down in the same way that you'd want to go about building a client acquisition channel. So that could be posting on specific platforms like LinkedIn. It could be working with a number of recruiters. It could be advertising on Facebook and Instagram. Whatever it is, you got to choose a traffic channel to recruit talent and make sure that it ticks all those boxes so that at any point you can just turn it up, bring more applications through, and have a larger talent, a pool to choose from. The next thing is that I learned when you recruit people, understand when you're in the game of dealing with humans are unpredictable. And they're not unpredictable because they themselves are bad people. They're unpredictable because life's unpredictable. So to give you an example, I had a rep that I hired and I was really excited about. And as soon as I hired him, I said, that's it. I'm not going to look to recruit anyone. I canceled all the other interviews I had, and I stopped advertising, and I turned off the tap for applications to come through. And I was like, that's it, I've got the last person I need. And then I went through my training with this individual, really excited, ticked every box, and then unfortunately, his father passed away halfway through training. Now, when his father passed away, it meant that he was no longer in a state to actually work, and he actually had to fly, and he had to fly around and move around. There's a lot of things he was telling me about handling his father's estate and matters that weren't organized prior to his father's unfortunate death. Now, this is heartbreaking. I felt really, really sad for him. I'm a human as well. When my team members, even if they're new, go through something tragic like this, I can't help but feel heartbroken. And so, I obviously gave him the support that he needed and told him, whenever you're ready, we're here for you, etc., etc. Now, that's my human side. But my business owner side was like, okay, I've just lost a staff member. And now I don't have someone who is supposed to fill a really important hole in my business, which is then now going to reduce the amount of, we're not going to hit our KPIs now because I was projecting this person to start. Then what I had to do was go through the process again of turning on advertising campaigns, bringing in the type of applications, filtering through applications, organizing interviews, having these interviews, having enough of these interviews to then make a hire. And that set me back weeks, if not up to a month. So what I've learned now is I need to constantly be recruiting, especially for roles that have either high churn or roles that the role that I know I'm going to hire the most of. So I know as my company grows, if we are a 50-person team in the future, 80% of our team will be SDRs. They'll be renovation consultants, over the phone sales reps. That is where the majority of our time will be. So particularly for a role like that, we need to constantly be bringing in reps, and we never stop advertising to bring in new recruits. And that's a hard thing to do, especially when you're interviewing people, knowing that you don't necessarily have a role for them now, but you need to understand a role could pop up at any moment. It could pop up because one of your reps quits, one of your team members quits. It could pop up because someone got poached. It could pop up because you had to fire someone. And the last thing you want as well is to have a team member part of the team that you can't fire because you're thinking, well, if I fire them, then this huge chunk of the business is my revenue is going to be really impacted, and I don't have other people I can distribute this to. So what you want to do is stay in that place of abundance, make sure the right people stay part of the team, and people who shouldn't be there are easily asked to move on. So you need to constantly have this flow of recruits coming in. But what you can do is speak to people and understand things will happen. If you hit a bit of a growth spurt, you're going to have people that you're already interviewing. You can put people on the bench is how I've chosen to see it. Is there are people I'm going to interview. Like I had two interviews today. One of them didn't show. He was 5 minutes late, and I was like, no, that's it. But one of the interviews, this guy impressed me. I would have definitely recruited him, but I don't need someone right now. So what I said to him is, you're going to be put on our bench, essentially. And I understand you might have to get another job. I get it. But right now I don't have a position for you, but I'm definitely interested in bringing you one in the future. And all you need to do is just set that as an expectation in advance. Like, hey, look, we're actively recruiting. There may not be a position for you now, but we're proactive. So we're not going to wait until we need someone to hire someone. We're going to make sure we have our next 5 hires already sorted. And I get it. I might do 20 interviews. There might be 10 people on the bench, but when it comes down to it, 5 of them, by the time I recruit them, may say, hey, I've gotten another job or another offer elsewhere. That's just part of the game. But it just puts you in a better position than what you otherwise would be in. So I've just learned that in order for me to grow my team now, I need to be constantly recruiting, constantly interviewing. And I plan on interviewing for these roles that are larger volume roles, like my sales team, my renovation consulting team. I plan on doing that through group interviews. So what I plan on doing is either on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, constantly have people getting applications coming through, shortlisting, Loom process of people sending through the Loom, shortlisted candidates get filtered through to a group interview. I'm constantly having group interviews, and then either setting up one-on-ones after that with particular reps, or actually putting these reps into on the bench and just going, hey, like the moment I know we're getting to a point where I need to bring on another rep for whatever reason, I've got these 10 people that I can organize one-on-one interviews with that I've already interviewed. So it's just a matter of, hey, book a time, rather than having to turn on campaigns, filter applications again. It's just a long process. Things take time. They just take time. It's just how it is. So this just keeps the wheels turning. And the reason why this is important as you grow is because when you're starting out, right now, the majority of you watch me, I know, are not just starting out, but you may be under a 50K a month mark. Once you get beyond 50K a month, you start getting to 100K a month plus, and then you start growing beyond that. your focus really moves from client acquisition to talent acquisition. And talent acquisition, you will see, will become an even bigger bottleneck than client acquisition. But you never think about that. As you grow a business, you don't realize just how important talent is. But it's like this reality check that every business owner has who's running a people focused business is like, the quality of my talent is a direct reflection on the quality of my business, and finding quality talent is very difficult, and I have to build systems out to acquire talent in the same way that I acquire staff members, acquire clients. Because what will end up happening is, at some point, God willing, it happens for you when the time is right, you will solve client acquisition. And you will go from struggling to get clients to going, okay, how many clients do I want to acquire this month? It's going to be a decision you can make. You go, okay, if I know I can get 10 clients if I wanted, but I don't want to grow that fast. So I'm only going to spend this much because I only want to bring on 5 clients for the next 3 months, so that I have a bit of I don't grow too quickly and shoot myself in the foot. When you get to that point where client acquisition is something that just happens on tap, then the next thing you will obsessively focus on is literally talent. That becomes a big issue, and it becomes an issue very, very fast. So that's the next thing is, so the first thing again is big enough pool. Second thing is making sure you're constantly recruiting. Now, the next thing after that is ensuring that when people come in, they come in with the right set of expectations. And this is not something I cannot emphasize enough. When you work with a client, setting expectations could be the difference between a 30% churn rate and a 10% churn rate. If you have clients come in and they churn after month 1, and that's because they said, I was expecting to close a deal in month 1, then the next 10 clients you take on, you have a pre-kickoff meeting. So you have a kickoff meeting prior to them actually starting, but after they sign on. So this will be the meeting after they pay you. They go through their onboarding. Right before you kick them off, you have a pre-kickoff meeting, and you set the expectation. You say, look, don't expect to close deals in month 1, but if you do XYZ, you could close a deal by the end of month 2. Just by setting that expectation, you will reduce your churn. Expectations are very powerful with reducing customer and client churn, but they're equally as important when it comes to your employees as well. If you sell people the dream, if you don't set the right expectations, if you don't set the right, have the right values in place, then you're going to bring people in, and it's going to be so difficult to adjust expectations after the fact. I have went through this before, and I'm currently going through this as well. You'll bring people in who come in and, their introduction to you as a business is seeing your values as a business, how you do things, the principles that you have, the mission that you have, the vision that you have, certain processes and systems. You tell them, hey, I know you're really ambitious and, you want to make as much money as possible, and that's our goal for you, but understand it'll take time. All of these things, they will influence your relationship with your employees and your culture, and then more importantly, employee attrition. So your employees churning. You want to avoid that, right? Because it's just as important to retain staff as it is to retain clients. So now moving forward, when new staff members come on board, I try to set an even worse expectation than what reality actually is, so they're pleasantly surprised. So under promise, over deliver. The same way with customers and clients. Set the worst expectation that you can possibly set without them wanting a refund before starting, so that when you do start, in their mind, you completely over deliver. So I'll tell some of our clients, hey, look, when you sign on, once we have a kickoff meeting, it's going to take at least 3 to 5 days to book your first appointment, and then it'll be a bit of a slow burn from there, but then we'll pick things up. But I know the moment they sign on, the majority of them will be flooded with appointments in their first 48 hours, because that's what we do. We do a big push for every new client to really over deliver, and I get the same compliments every single time. Oh my God, this is incredible. Holy shit, you guys work fast. This has blown me away. And that really sets the tone. As opposed to me saying, look, as soon as you sign on, within 48 hours, we're going to book you like 5 appointments. And, it's going to, now if I book them 4, they're going to be like, well, you said 5, right? And so they're going to be let down. The expectation says everything. So I'm now starting to really put a lot of emphasis on onboarding process with employees. I've got the right values now in our business, and values are so important. And I've learned this lesson now, because if you don't have certain values in place, so for example, one of our values is a world-class standard. Another one of our values is die-hard commitment. Another one of our values is respectful, brutal honesty. These are values that we have as a business. Now, if we don't have values as a business, then judgments and decisions are being made based on personal opinion and biases, and that creates a toxic work culture. If people get penalized or promoted based on opinion, then you're going to have a business that's absolutely chaotic. So I try to set things around values, and everything I say and everything I tell them always points back to a value. Now, if a customer, one of my employees brings up a point of concern and says, hey, I don't like that we're doing this, I think we should do this, I'll go, okay, now based on our values, why use our values to steel man your argument? They go, okay, well, I don't know, I actually can't see how doing this would relate to one of our values. Okay, so then it's the wrong decision. I don't care about your opinion, and you shouldn't care about mine. If it's not in line with our values, then what are we talking about here? Because our values are our North Star. They're what we will use as a principles to make decisions. And if what you're saying is not in line with these values, then we're moving in the wrong direction. That's how we stress test your idea here. So building values, building a really big mission. I've established a huge mission, big vision for the business. Setting expectations. So with all the new staff members, I set expectations on their 30, 60, 90 day plan. So I said, look, in your first 30 days, expect this. Your 60 days, expect this. 90 days, expect this. Okay, now is that in line? Cool. Some of them said they wanted to achieve more in 90 days, but since we set the expectation, it's what they expect. They expect things to be difficult. They expect things to be a bit slow, particularly in sales. So long as you set the right expectations, you will either meet them or exceed them, and that will put you in a really good position when it comes to having low attrition with your staff members. So that is another thing. Setting the right expectations is incredibly important. Next is training. So training. With our sales team, what we did with the recent recruits was just significantly more training. And the more time we put into training, the better it'll be. I went from training someone maybe a total of 2-3 hours. So they do all their online videos, then maybe 2-3 hours of one-on-one training, doing role play, testing the script, and I'm just jump on the phones, because obviously, we're learning here. The recent recruits that we did a whole week of training, probably a total of around 15 hours of support with me, plus an enormous amount of hours of them training with each other and doing role play. A lot more content for them to consume, and I plan on extending that out. My next batch of recruits, I plan on doing 2 weeks of training and significantly more role play. What I've realized, when you bring on new team members, it's not impossible to keep training them afterwards, but the more you get them trained at the beginning, the easier it's going to be after, because they almost kind of want to be set free. Now, I do have a culture where we're constantly training, and I set that we're always going to be training, because one of our values is moving forward always. We're always moving forward. So training is just part of what we do because it's in line with that value. However, when I think about, my recent, the recent recruits, they hit the ground running and made significantly less mistakes than previous recruits because of the enormous amount of training we did. So moving forward, I just plan on extending that training out to 2 weeks and even more hours and even more training. You can't go wrong pouring into your team. So long as you've recruited B to A players, so people with really good foundations, good values, good principles, sponges, and you just pour into them, you cannot lose. It will always bring you some sort of ROI down the line. Now, the final thing that I will say, and this is particularly true to a sales environment, and you could probably find a way to set this up no matter what position someone's employed in, but it's particularly true for a sales team, especially a team where you're dealing with a large volume of people. So with our renovation consulting team, they're receiving inbound leads, which they need to call and qualify and book appointments for. Now, there are different types of leads. There are leads that have been sitting in our database for 3 months that need to be worked. Those are cold leads. Someone is given those leads. they're going to book significantly less appointments than the person who's been given the new leads that have come through today. And then there are the different types of leads that are, leads where people just inquired and interested. And then there's people who booked in an actual appointment. They've really went deep into the funnel. And those leads convert at, say, 70%, whereas these leads convert at 15%. And so you'll find, and I found my sales reps would ask for all the best leads. Like, of course you guys are going to ask for the best leads because it's the easiest way for you to hit your targets and earn your bonuses. So I've said to myself, wow, this is the first time I've really had to deal with something like this where we need to figure out how do we distribute leads properly. And I immediately was faced with a scenario where one of our staff members said, I feel as though because I've been here longer, I should get more of these types of leads. And I immediately saw a red flag because I'm like, okay, this is my fault. Because I've built I'm going to build a culture if we go down this path where people feel entitled based on metrics that really do not matter. How long you've been a part of the business does not matter to me, and it should not matter to you, and it should not matter to your peers. That is not how A players operate. It's not how you build a world-class sales environment. Whoever produces the best results should be receiving the best leads, and that's how it should be. It should be a culture in which the best sales reps get the best leads. Now, in order for you to prove you're the best sales rep, it needs to be based on objective truth. And that objective truth should be data. It should be stats. How many appointments do you book? What is your cancellation rate on those appointments? Because that is reflective on your call quality. What is your dispute rate on these appointments? So when our clients do attend these appointments, what percentage of your appointments is someone disputing? If I have one sales rep who books 100 appointments, but then 20% of his appointments get disputed versus another sales rep who books 80 appointments, but only 5% get disputed, this sales rep over here is more valuable than this one, even though this one booked more appointments. I'd rather give this sales rep 20 of this person's appointments because I know he has a significantly less dispute rate. And what's our client close rate? So what percentage of the appointments you're distributing are actually getting closed? If this sales rep has a 50% close rate with their clients and this person has 20%, it means whatever the sales rep's doing is actually translating to the deals being closed, which ultimately is why our clients pay us to make money. So you're going to get distributed more appointments. Now, in order for us to build a culture like this, it needs to be based on objective truth. So one of the points that I am going to implement in my business, and I've been thinking about a lot, is how do I set up a culture or an environment within my sales team where things are just built on objective truth and not built on opinion, and not built on emotion. I really don't want to grow my team to 50 people and have to deal with people's bullshit. People complaining about things not being fair, equity, all this sort of stuff. It's like, look, we're a sales team, right? Sales is a savage business to be in. You either are producing results or you're not. It's really that simple. This isn't a matter of opinion. And so in order for us to get to that point, we need our stats to be sorted. So I've been working a lot on setting up things so that I can clearly see what are the stats for each individual rep. What's this person's dispute rate? What's this person's cancellation rate? What's this person's close rate? Okay, and whoever has the best numbers as far as those metrics get concerned, get given the better leads, get given more leads, and that's how people will receive these promotions. Now, what this does is it creates an environment in which the best people are actually getting rewarded. If you've ever worked for someone, you've probably been in a position where you felt as though you deserve to get paid more than other people, but you're getting paid the same. And that's why you eventually left, or one of the reasons why you eventually left. But if you're going to build a sales team, you can't set things up that way. If you build a culture where people are just if you're doing it on fairness, on equal distribution, what's going to happen is your A players will eventually just move to work somewhere else. Because no A player wants to be rewarded equivalent of a C player or a B player, because C players shouldn't be part of the team, especially when their output's so much higher. They deserve to take everything. They deserve to take everything. That's how we build a proper sales culture. You shouldn't give your A player the worst leads. You should give them the easiest, best leads because they deserve it. That's just how things work. It rewards the right type of behavior. Then when someone who's currently working old leads sees that the A player is getting the easy leads and knows that they got there because their stats on these old tough leads were X%, they're going to work to become better at sales so that they can hit these percentages and work their way up to eventually reach this person at the top. And then if someone's at the top getting X amount of leads or X amount of appointments, and then you go, hey mate, like your stats have dropped, this person's stats are here, no hard feelings, but they're getting your inquiries. Sure, they might get upset, but they've only got one person to blame, and that's themselves. Because you haven't made this decision based on emotion. It's not like, oh, I feel as though you haven't been performing. It's, look at the numbers, bro. Like, your numbers are here now, this person's numbers are here. You know how it works. The reason why you got this in the first place is because you were better than someone else. Now someone else is better than you. And that's just how it's going to be. The winners rise to the top. But it should be, again, based on objective truth. So tracking numbers is something that I'm putting a lot of focus and attention into. So that's my plan, my focus. And the last thing I'll leave you with is what I'm also planning on doing is not doing this myself. I definitely do not plan on trying to figure this out myself. I have been in the game long enough to know that if I try to do this for myself for the next 12 months, I will make a shit ton of mistakes. I will arrive at some conclusions that will be correct. I will also arrive at an enormous amount of conclusions that will be wrong. There will be expensive mistakes that will cause me to take longer to get to where I want to get to. So what I plan on doing is actually finding someone who has experience growing and managing a sales team of 50 people plus, and going, hey, take my money, please, and tell me what I need to do. And that is currently what I'm actively working on. And when I find this person, I'll let you guys know. So that's where I'm at. Hope you guys enjoyed that video. I'll see you in the next one.